Alright, I'm going to be showing you how to tie a Purcell Prusik edge restraint shock absorbing lanyard, or you could use it as a self belay. You can also use it as the litter bridles for a Stokes basket. So the first thing you want to do is decide how big of diameter you want, depending on if you're going to be using it as a self belay or a fall protection shock absorbing lanyard. You're going to want to make sure that it's going to be 2/3 to 3/4 the diameter of the rope you're going to be hitching it to. So if we have a 1/2 inch line that we're going to be doing a hitch to, we're going to want to have 8mm cord. Now obviously you can go smaller if you are just going to be using it as a shock absorbing lanyard, say for a climber to have a lanyard that they attach into their belay station or anchors. You can go a little bit smaller than 8mm and you'll be alright. Now also we're going to be going over the orientation of your shock absorbing lanyard. Sometimes it'll be beneficial to have your double loop Purcell Prusik shock absorber with the double loops connected to you, and sometimes it'll be more beneficial with the double loops hooked into your anchor above you. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have the right length for the application you need it for. So for this we're going to have 10 feet of our 8mm cord, and we're going to tie a double fisherman's knot, which is the same thing you would tie to create your prussic loop. Alright, so you're going to want to have about 1 foot of tail on either side, and you're going to start by taking one of them and placing it parallel to the other strand, and you're going to go from front to back on one and back to front on the other. So we're going to start with the front to back. We're going to go and wrap 2 wraps around itself and the parallel strand and pull it through the center, and you want to make sure you have 1 inch to 1.5 inches of tail so that when the knot sets, nothing is going to slip through. Okay, so now we're going to go back to front, 2 loops around, and pull it through the center. Okay, adjust it down, tighten it real good, and when you pull them together, they're going to butt up to each other perfectly, and that's how you know you've tied it correctly. When they butt together perfectly, you have 2 X's on one side and 2 parallel strands on the other. Okay, so that is our double fisherman's bend, and we know that it's all tied correctly. Now if you're going to be using this strictly as just a shock absorbing lanyard with no prussic loops attached to another line, then you don't need to worry as much about having a ton of extra cord to make that prussic hitch. You can get away with having maybe 1 inch past your knots. But if you're going to tie it with the prussic hitch onto a larger diameter cord or rope, you're going to want to make sure you have at least 2 fists full of extra line that's not going to be engaged in the Purcell Prusik to then attach a prussic loop. And we will go over the orientation a little bit further after we've tied it. So now we'll take the other end, we'll place it over our hand, and we're going to make the Spock symbol, and the top piece that's going around the back, wrap it around your top 2 fingers twice. Okay, like so. And the bottom strand that's going from the front, we're going to wrap around your bottom 2 fingers 3 times. Okay, once you have those wraps finished, capture the bottom with your thumb, take the top, and you're going to roll it over clockwise onto your bottom 2 fingers. Once it's rolled over, it'll look like that, with 3 strands closer to your palm and 2 strands closer to your fingertips. So now we want to open up these loops to create room for the knot to pass through. Okay, so make sure you keep everything nice and neat. Make sure the loops are big enough. Now we're going to pass this knot through. Now in creating this, you might need to readjust the length of cord that you have to make your prussic hitch. Now we're going to tighten this all down. Make it so there's no wasted cord and that it'll be able to engage quickly. Make sure that your strands are not twisted around each other and they're of equal length. And now we're going to need to take and make a little bit more. So we'll pull this side down to the knot. Loop it through this way a little. And adjust accordingly. So, if you're going to be attaching and hitching this to another rope, you're going to have the double loops closest to you and clip them into your harness. And you can use this as a self belay while on rappel. You can hitch this around your rope and mind it while you're rappelling. And then if you get into trouble, let go and it'll engage. Now if you're going to be using this without the prussic hitch, you can attach this end to your anchor point, your belay station, whatever. And so if you fall and you accidentally grab this, it's not going to make a difference. If you had it this way and you fall, you can grab this and it defeats the purpose of having a shock absorbing lanyard. But if you're going to do it with a hitch on this end, you really have no other choice. So depending on the way you want to use it, you will orient it either this way or this way. So for the purpose of using it as a self belay or fall protection lanyard, we're going to attach these loops to ourselves, and this is going to be hitched onto the larger diameter rope. So now I will show you the 3-wrap prussic hitch. So you take the bite, put it behind the rope, and take the other side, loop it through. You're going to go around 3 times. Okay, one more. Now you're going to want to clean it up, get as much of that slack out of those loops as possible. So you have the 3 wraps, so it's 3 of the same wrap on either side, so it makes this a multi-directional friction hitch. You can adjust out this way, it'll catch, and it'll also catch this way. Now you'll want to make sure that you adjust your Purcell Prusik as high up as possible so that it will engage and have more room to be able to shock absorb. So as you can see, there's a little bit extra room on one side. But you get the picture. So we have our Prusik hitch, we have our Purcell Prusik. We want to extend that out as far enough as we can so that if we do take a fall, it'll absorb some of that shock. It'll have much more room to do so. Alright, so you can also adjust this according to how far away you want to be. If this was connected into an anchor, let's say you need to be a little bit further away from your anchor, you can adjust that. If you need to be a little bit closer in, you can adjust it back up. It bites down. You're good to work at that position. Okay. You can also use this for litter bridles. So one end can be clipped into the Stokes basket. One end can be clipped into the yoke of your raise or lower system. So you can orient it with the 2 loops on the bottom or the 2 loops on the top. It's a little bit easier to be able to readjust and reset it. If the 2 loops are on the top, then you can use your body weight to pull down on the knot, and also it reduces that risk of you accidentally grabbing it and extending it out that way. So that would be one reason why you would not want to have these 2 loops connected into you, is the risk of accidentally grabbing that and defeating its shock absorbing abilities. But as I said, once again, if you're going to be using it as a self belay or fall protection edge restraint lanyard, you're going to need to have these 2 loops connected into you so you can tie the prussic hitch around the larger line. So there you have it, the Purcell Prusik and the triple wrap prussic hitch.